Crocodiles and alligators are easily amongst the world's most feared animal predators. With their massive bite force and uncanny ability to stalk their prey, these animals are dangerous in any situation, especially when you meet them on their own turf. That all being said, I think we all know the one rule of the jungle: things do not always go your way. Sure, crocodiles and alligators are feared predators that are not to be messed with, but in some cases, there are animals that give them a serious run for their money. And in some cases, they even beat them entirely. To pay tribute to these brave animals, we'll be chronicling some of the instances where these crocs and gators have had their comeuppance, and some of the situations are sure to shock you. Join us as we have a look at 15 times that crocodiles and alligators messed with the wrong opponent. Strength in numbers. Now, you may not know it, but baboons are actually quite similar to humans. Evolutionists say that we humans are descended from apes, and baboons are amongst the most popular apes in the world. Like us humans, baboons also have a deep sense of community and belonging. They travel in packs, and if you mess with one member of the clan, you had better be ready to throw down. This alligator apparently did not get the memo. A few years back, this clip came out of a safari in Botswana, showing a moment when an alligator thought that it was sleek enough to sneak up on an unsuspecting baboon. The moment that baboon saw that it was in danger, its first task was to call out to its friends, and wow, did they show up. Eventually, after a lot of struggle, the group was able to free the baboon from the clutches of the alligator, and the apex predator was forced to go back home with an empty stomach and wait for another opportunity to feast. If anything, the situation goes to once again show that there are truly strength in numbers. If the baboon in question had strayed from the rest of the group, it would have definitely been eaten, but because it was close, it was able to call for help and get it on time. And you know what they say: when winter comes, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. Hands off my kids. They might not necessarily look like it, but wild boars are really strong animals. In the event of an attack, they can easily adapt to their surroundings and take a beating, as well as dish out a beating when needed. And while most of them are eventually hunted for their meat and skin, you can ask anyone who's ever had to do the hunting, and they'll tell you that catching a wild boar is no easy feat. Like many other animals, wild boar easily obey one of the basic laws of nature. When your children are threatened, you stop at absolutely nothing to protect them. We see this exact rule play out perfectly in this scenario, which shows a moment when a family of wild boars is attacked by a crocodile. The clip, which would be taken at a wildlife reserve in South Africa, shows the moment when the crocodile thought that it was sleek and stalked the family of a wild boar. But as soon as they found that a predator was on the loose, everyone scattered. Then came the father of the family to step up and protect his children, and did he do so with a fantastic way. You know, when it comes to the jungle, the rules dictate that you most likely will not get a second chance when you blow up the first one, and in the case of the crocodile, it sadly wouldn't be getting any do-overs here. The moment the papa was able to fight it off, everyone in the family hightailed it out of there. Stomp the yard. There are few things that I personally love about horses. Their bodies are sleek and ripped, and they also have a tendency to act immediately once they see a threat. With their legs being especially strong, the first thing a horse does when it doesn't like another animal is to give it a nice old kick. In this next video, we see the moment that a horse clocks a crocodile coming so close that it might be a threat. They actually started off just being friendly, with the croc staying on its own and the horse feeding. But as soon as the croc began to get a bit too suspicious, the horse immediately gave it the business.
Oh, Tim, get back.
I'm not quite sure what the croc was actually planning there, but I think it's safe to say that the horse was having none of it. With its strong feet, it was able to show the croc who was the boss in that area. Clearing the field. Lions and crocodiles are both apex predators, so whenever they meet, you can imagine that sparks will immediately fly. That all being said, even when an apex predator is chopping up a turf advantage, things do not necessarily work well in their favor. In this next clip, we see the incredible moment when a lion had apparently been stranded on a hippo at the Masai Mara National Park in Kenya. According to the guys who took the clip, the lion and its pack had killed the hippo and were feasting on it, but this guy managed to be one of the last ones to get a taste. And when the time came for it to get a few bites in, it would be interrupted by a pack of crocodiles.
More than 30 crocodiles around the lions and hippo.
Can you see how surrounded it was? There had to have been at least 30 crocs there, just lying in wait, getting ready to chomp down on the lion. And I know what you're thinking, this lion is toast, right? Well, it did manage to get trapped between a pack of crocs, and it was surrounded by a body of water, and how on earth would it hope to survive? As luck would have it, the lion displayed some James Brown-style footwork and managed to jump through the crocs to safety. With impeccable skill, the lion managed to hop on out of there, dancing through the sea of crocs as it jumped to safety. This is incredible, to be honest. Think fast. The jungle can be a harsh place, and that means that in order to survive, every animal has to capitalize on whatever advantages that it can get. Some animals, like the crocodile, tend to use their stealth and ability to hunt quickly to their advantage. However, there are also animals that have that uncanny ability to anticipate potential dangers and evade them just in the nick of time. But what happens when those two advantages collide in the same situation? Well, for this next clip, we get to see an incredible scenario where a warthog managed to outsmart an alligator that was just getting ready to lay out the perfect attack. And to be fair, that gator did an impressive job on this one. By laying in wait at a watering hole, it was able to keep a close eye on the warthog and prepare its attack. But at the last second, it all went downhill. Now, I've got to say props to the warthog. Surviving such a close encounter could have only taken guts and luck, and fortunately it appeared to have both. I personally don't think there are so many animals that could have survived this kind of attack. Unlikely allies. So I know I speak a lot about the savagery of the jungle and the fact that it's pretty much an eat-what-you-kill mentality, but there are also times when you see some interesting team-ups in the jungle that kind of have you scratching your head. I think it's safe to say that this is one of those. A few years back, two explorers at a wildlife reserve got to see firsthand the brutality of the jungle as a crocodile latched onto the leg of a wildebeest at a watering hole. I'm not really sure how this managed to happen, but I'm willing to bet that the wildebeest had waded a bit too deep into the water and was pretty much a sitting duck for the gator. What ensued became a massive struggle. The wildebeest was looking to survive, and the gator was looking for its next meal. After the two of them had pretty much struggled, it looked like the gator was ready to wrap it up and enjoy the spoils. Now, I'm not sure that you can see this, but there are literally several other wildebeests that are sitting there watching as one of their own gets sucked into the underworld. But probably out of fear for their own lives, they thought, nah, we'll sit this one out. Who didn't want to set it out, though? A pair of hippos that had apparently wanted all the smoke with the gator. The crazy thing about the clip is that the hippos didn't even have to stress too much to get the wildebeest out of the gator's mouth. They just strutted in there like a couple of cool cats and got the job done. Now that's a boss move right there. Plus, you can imagine the awkward conversation at the wildebeest camp that night. Punching above weight. When you think about animals that get taken down by predators, elephants are probably not amongst the first animals that come to mind. These guys are freakishly large, and any animal that even dares to step to them should better have some reinforcements or something. But here's the thing, to illustrate just how crazy some crocodiles are, they actually would not mind taking a stab at hunting down an elephant if it entered into their territory. The only problem, however, is that this rarely goes very well for the crocs. Take this scenario for an example. Apparently, a crocodile saw two elephants wandering into its territory and thought that it would be able to test its luck. It's needless to say that things did not go as planned at all. All through the conflict, the only thing the crocodile could do was roll around as the elephant tossed it from side to side like a rag doll. Now, I actually wonder the point when the croc looked and thought, I've made a huge mistake going after this one. To be fair, though, you've got to give the croc some credit. It fought a good fight and tried its best, but this was not meant to be. Better luck next time, if you manage to walk out of this one alive, that is. Not your spot. At this point, it goes without saying that the favorite hunting place for a crocodile is around a water body. These animals are especially dangerous when they get underwater, and whenever they spot prey, they do their best to drag it into the water with them, while they'll be more comfortable finishing them off. However, crocodiles are not the only animals that are adapted to hunting or being aggressive in the water. Also semi-aquatic, hippos are known to pack an even heftier punch than a crocodile, and while they might not have sharp teeth like a croc, their bite force is something to behold. In this next video, we see a moment when a crocodile apparently caught itself in the middle of a pack of hippos. The clip would be taken at the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, and according to reports, the croc had apparently wandered into the hippo's swimming spot. What was it looking to achieve? Well, nobody really has any idea. But here's the thing, hippos are known to be wildly territorial. If a pack of hippos designates a spot as their own, not even Sheldon Cooper could claim it from them.
Well, what a thrill.
You're sitting in my spot.
Oh.
And if they see a threat to that place, they immediately get aggressive, so it should come as no surprise that these hippos immediately saw the croc and lost their minds and let it have it. According to onlookers, the crocodile actually survived the encounter, but I'm pretty sure it would have learned its lesson. If you want to go play in the hippo pool, you should make sure the hippos invite you in first. A slithering foe. If there's one animal that can easily match an alligator when it comes to fearlessness, it's the Burmese python, and the confidence in these animals is surely not unfounded. Burmese pythons are incredibly big and strong, with bodies that can wrap around just about anything as they devour it. For those who may not know, there's been a major infestation of Burmese pythons in the Florida Everglades over the past few years, and with more of these snakes being around the Everglades, there's been less and less food available to the American alligators living there. In this clip, we see an intense moment when the two natural enemies collided in battle. Now, from the looks of things, the alligator had actually appeared to have the fight on lock. With a jaw that delivers a bite force of over 2,000 pounds per square inch, the alligator was absolutely going to town on the python, but in a shocking twist, it decided to give up. I'm not really sure if that alligator became tired of the fight or if it suddenly lost its appetite for the python, but it suddenly let go. And now, emboldened by the encounter, the python immediately got up and got into attack mode, ready for another strike. The gator didn't want any of this smoke, though, and instead of heading into another round, it simply turned its back and left the scene. It's better to have lived and fought another day than to die on the hill. The otter revolt. Otters are amongst those animals that you generally look at and just think are incapable of defending themselves, but when you see what they're working with, your perception will kind of start to change. For this next clip, we see a true display of strength and bravery, as well as the perfect example of defeating an adversary by sticking together. A family of otters was attacked by a caiman in a tropical rainforest, and instead of just submitting and letting the caiman do as it pleased, these guys showed the stones to fight back and protect themselves. After protecting their young ones, the older otters moved in, seizing up the caiman as it got closer to them. Despite one of the otters holding onto its tail, the caiman was determined to stand its ground. You know you've really got to give it to the caiman. The guy fought his tail off in battle and wouldn't back down. But once again, the principle of strength in numbers prevailed, and as much as the caiman tried, it just was not able to get the win. Following an hour or so of intense fighting, the deed was finally done. The caiman had messed with the wrong family, and it paid the ultimate price. With a family that was ready to do anything to protect the children and the ferocity that these otters were fighting with, I really don't think the caiman stood a chance. Shock and awe. Now, they might not be the biggest animals in the water, but electric eels pack an absolute punch. They have a simple defense mechanism that works every time, their bodies which can literally produce electricity. The moment any other animal comes into contact with an electric eel, it's in danger, and once you touch them, you're immediately hit with up to 850 volts of electricity. As you can imagine, this tends to get even worse when the contact is done in the midst of the water. So, who dares to try and feast on these electrifying fish? Well, apparently this alligator. As you can see, the eel is moving calmly on its own, only to be stalked by the alligator, and immediately that gator decides to chomp on it. And let's just say that things did not necessarily go according to plan. The contact between the two of them instantly sends a jolt of electricity coursing through the alligator's body, and it immediately went limp. Now, I'm not sure if it was able to kill the eel, but even if it did, I doubt it would have been able to enjoy that meal. That'll teach you not to mess with the little guy next time. Jag attack. Jaguars are truly magnificent beasts. They prance around the jungle looking for their prey, and even if the battle between a jaguar and another animal goes away from land, where the jag would have an advantage, you really shouldn't count out this big cat. For this next clip, we get to see a perfect example of why you shouldn't bet against a jaguar in any form of physical conflict. This particular one is hankering for some strong meat, and it sighted a crocodile chilling around a watering hole. Naturally, its predator instinct would kick in, and it immediately devised a plan of attack. After getting a proper lay of the land, the jaguar immediately lunged at its prey, and they had one heck of an epic battle. Now, you may think that the crocodile would have the advantage since they tussled underwater, but that means very little to the great jaguar. With its massive strength and the element of surprise, the jaguar was able to hold the croc by the neck and literally drag it out of the water and onto dry land. And do you know how strong you have to be to pull something like that off? Not only did the jaguar reach into unfamiliar territory to meet the croc, it also managed to pull it out of the water and take care of business on its own turf. That right there is a baller move. No meat today. Speaking of big cats that manage to make crocodiles look silly, take a look at this next clip. As we know, the gray tiger is one of the biggest cats in the world, and befitting an animal of its size, the tiger has absolutely no fear. So as you can imagine, the bravery with which the tiger must have walked into the situation only to come out without a scratch on its body. The clip was said to have been taken at a national park in India, and I can only imagine what transpired between the tiger and the crocodile to cause such a ruckus. Considering the way the tiger walked out of there, you can bet that things did not go quite well for the crocodile. Croc out of water. Considering how much meat is in their bodies, you can understand why buffalo are amongst those animals that predators always hunt. Just one catch of a buffalo can serve most animals for days, and their bodies are rich in meat and fat. The crocodiles are in a good position to hunt these animals. At the end of the day, buffaloes have to drink water and will head to the nearest stream to do so. The moment a crocodile is able to put itself in the right position, it can enjoy a bountiful meal. That's exactly what we see in this next scenario. An opportunistic crocodile that found a buffalo and was immediately interested. Like all killer crocs, this one decided to stake out its prey first, lying in wait for it. With the buffalo now firmly within a few meters, the croc knew it was the perfect time to strike, and it laid out the perfect attack, hooking the buffalo right on its nose. The problem, however, was that this buffalo was stubborn. It also knew that entering the water would have been the death sentence for it, so it immediately did its best to drag the croc out and onto its own turf instead. And the plan actually worked. Immediately, the crocodile saw that the jig was up, and it knew it was time to cut bait and get the heck out of there. It immediately let go of the buffalo's nose, got back into the water, and then skulked away. A fatal swim. Now, we've seen an instance where a jaguar literally dragged a croc out of its natural habitat and onto land before giving it a beatdown, but what if I told you that these guys are also capable of messing with crocs in the water? Just take a look at this clip, for instance, showing a moment when, after a lengthy battle, a jaguar literally drowns a croc. The crazy thing is that the croc continued to fight, but despite its best effort, the jag was determined to snuff the life out of it. Now honestly, there's got to be something about jaguars that just makes them special. How is it that they find it so easy to own a crocodile every single time? Crocodiles and alligators are easily high on the food chain when it comes to apex predators. They've managed to hone their hunting skills over millions of years and are ready to throw down with anyone. But as we've seen, things do not always go their way. What do you think about these clips? Was there any one that you found particularly interesting? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.